Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the farm. We've gotten a little bit of work done, and today we're going to get a little bit more work done on the 1951 John Deere MC crawler. I went and painted up the gas tank, and it looked awfully good. Went and painted the cap red, because that's the way it used to be, and got the carburetor all set up. Got the fuel line cleaned up and ready to go, and I'm about to install the fuel filter. Now, there is a stainless steel screen that belongs in here, along with the little bowl and gasket. We'll get that set up, and yeah, I've got a few things I need to show you. So come along with us today on the farm as we get a few things done and start putting this thing back together. First up, I want to finish this fuel tank, and I went and masked everything off and painted this little puppy, and now we're going to take all the tape off and get this thing put back together. Now we're going to put this back together. This little stainless steel screen goes in here in the middle. Screwdriver here. Now that's all even. We put the little cork gasket in place, and we need to install the retainer. And put in the glass bowl. There we go. Tighten that down a little bit, get it centered. And there we go. The fuel filter is completely refurbished and reinstalled. Now we got to take the masking tape off of the fuel line here. Fuel line is ready to go. And now the carburetor is ready to go. So we got some refurbished parts to work with. And let me show you what I went and did yesterday in Brenham. I went into Brenham yesterday to go run some errands, and when I did, I went and took one of the old spark plugs out of the MC crawler, and it had a Champion H10, and by the looks of this, it's been in there a really long time, and the spark plug actually looks pretty good. It's not white, it's not black, it's not wet, which is all a good thing. It looks pretty much like a spark plug ought to look that's been running in a properly tuned engine. So I was impressed. But I have no idea how old this thing is. And by the looks of it, it's pretty old. And also by the looks of it, that engine's been repainted with this in there. So that tells me it's probably been in there a good long while. I went over to my good friends over at O'Reilly's in Brenham and talked to my buddy Tam, and he got me some brand spanking new Autolite copper spark plugs. Brand spanking new. I'll be gapping these up and putting them in there. And again, I probably didn't have to do this, but I figure since I'm doing all this other stuff, these two cost me $6. So why not go ahead and do it? So when I put it back together here pretty soon, we'll have new plugs. Something else that I thought about, since the MC crawler does not have any sort of tachometer, those came on later models, you don't have any way of knowing other than your ear how fast the engine's running. So on Amazon.com, they've got this cute little thing. It's a battery operated tachometer. They say that the battery should last about 10 years, which is a bold claim. But this can do multiple cylinder engines. So for a two-cylinder, 4-stroke engine, I go and set this up to count the revolutions, or count the pulses per revolution, and this will tell me how fast that engine's actually going. It's digital, but I figure since I'm doing all this other stuff, I'd like to know where the RPM sits so I can set the idle and everything properly. So thank you, Amazon. This worked out rather well. I think this one's 24, 29 bucks. As far as I'm concerned, it's worth the money. Now, something else I went and did is I went over to All Auto Repair over south of Brenham on 36, and I walked in there. Guy's never seen me before in my life, or his life, and I told him I needed a custom exhaust. And then I explained to him it was on a tractor, on a 1951 tractor. And he's kind of okay. And here's what we were working with. This is the muffler that was on it, and it just slips down over the exhaust manifold, and then you put this down through the hood, and it just barely sits up off the hood. And then you've got this little bitty small diameter output. Notice the input, pretty good size. The output, not so much. And one of my constant complaints about this is it makes the engine have a high pitch. Now that two-cylinder pop, 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 pop that people love it's a nice engine tone. But when you're sitting in front of it for a long period of time, that high tone pop can get a little grating on the nerves. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to lower the tone of the exhaust. My other problem with this exhaust is where this sits on the tractor. When you're sitting in the operating seat, this is just a little bit above eye level. So what ends up is all this exhaust comes right up out of the stack and then comes right back in your face. That'll give you a headache, and it's not that much fun. So I wanted to get something taller, and I wanted something to lower the tone, because that's a pretty small outlet and it raises the pitch. So when I talked to the fellows over there, it was like, I have a plan, and I know what I want. I want to know if you can build it. And he's like, sure, we can do that. So what we ended up with is this bad boy. This is the end that slips over the exhaust manifold, and this end is going to have a flapper on it. We went from 1.25 inches, 1 inch to 1.25 inches to a 3-inch diameter. And what that's going to do is that's going to lower the tone of the exhaust. And right here in the middle is a bullet style racing muffler. So I still have a muffler, but it's a racing muffler. And I looked at this and I was thinking about it on the way home. This is bound to add an additional 10 horsepower on my old tractor. You think? But I can't wait to go and see what this sounds like once we go and put it on there. So we've got a new exhaust as well as the other stuff we're doing. That's going to make a big difference. I can't wait to put it on. Now, the project I've got earmarked for this morning involves the seat. Let me go show you the little nightmare I've got waiting for the seat. And this is the seat. I went and took it off the MC crawler because it just makes it a lot easier to work on. And as you might see, we've got some holes. It's missing quite a bit of padding, and the cover is like falling apart. And there's a piece of plywood in the bottom of both of the cushions here. And just to show you how wonderful they are, it's kind of rotten. It's gotten so rotten that the screws won't even hold it to the backing anymore. And I don't know when the last time there were screws in here, but there's no screws left. They're all gone because the bottom is so rotted it wouldn't hold on to it anymore. So this is a pretty sad looking seat. And I got on eBay and was amazed that somebody actually makes replacements for these. So instead of having to go find a piece of plywood and cut it and then exercise my horrible reupholstery skills, because I've tried reupholstering the ATV seats and that didn't go real well. They worked, but they didn't look nearly as good as I wanted them to. So I ordered a new one off of eBay, and it arrived, and I'm going to open it up here and go after the seat project. But honestly, looking at this seat, it's not in too bad a shape. Got some rust here, there, and everywhere, but it's got some really thin metal that needs a little bit of love, and it's so thin that I'm chicken to go and try welding on it. So I think I'm just going to clean it up, give it a good coat of paint to keep it from rusting anymore, and put a new seat in this puppy. And that's what we're going to do today. Now, one other little thing, keep in mind this is 1951. I couldn't figure out what this spring was for. It's got a little spring with a J-hook on it. Come to find out, that's the seat adjustment. It actually had a seat adjustment so you could go and run it back and forth. I had no idea. So, yeah, we're going to clean this up today so that I can put it on the tractor, put all this other stuff on the tractor, get it started and move it over to the barn where I can work on it easier and start doing some more stuff to it. So come along with us today on the farm and let's get a few things done. Let's get to work. And here we are with the brand spanking new John Deere MC crawler seat. Let's see if the guys on eBay came through for me. I got my fingers crossed. I ordered yellow because that's what used to be on it, was a yellow seat. I'm hoping we got a yellow seat. And hey, looky there. That looks pretty yellow to me. Yeah, it's got some nice stitching along the edges. Nice staple pattern on the back. Actually nice and straight. It's gonna look pretty nice. It's all covered up in some plastic. Oh yeah, and it's got cushy foam. Not that hard stuff that was on there before. Almost hate to put my dirty hands on it, but I know this is going to get dirty. That's pretty good looking. I will be more than happy to go and put that on that seat frame after I refurbish the seat frame. And of course we've got this one. Like an unboxing video. Yeah, this is a lot better job than I could have ever done, that's for sure. It's got stitching along the sides. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. No big mistakes done to it. Yeah, this will be nice. Now, before I go and start painting things, let's make sure this actually fits in the seat frame. Here's my old rusty frame. And what do you know? It actually fits. I mean, it fits perfectly. Slips right down into that frame. And there's the back. Yeah, I think that's going to work out nice. Now, doesn't that look a lot better than it was? Yeah, that's much better. Now I need to go get rid of some of the rust on this frame before I go and put screws in this and lock it down permanently. Yeah, I think this is going to work. Now I'm set up to go and work on the seat. The idea of this is not to get a show quality finish, but actually knock all the rust off and stop it from deteriorating and rusting any further. I've got some special primer that supposedly neutralizes rust, and we're going to put it on this and put some green paint on it, make it look a little bit better. Well, now that we got most of the rust knocked off, I'm gonna go hit it with some of that primer. See if we can get that taken care of. And there we go. We're ready to go. Put a little primer on this thing. Now we get to wait for the paint to dry. I'm not necessarily a patient person. This is always a hard part for me. Gotta let it dry for at least 15 minutes before you go and put on a second coat. So, time to go find something else to do, take out the trash, do something. I'll be back in a little bit. Well, it's been about 15 minutes, and I went and I found the handle for my Rust-Oleum cans. This makes things a lot easier to handle and a lot more even coverage when I'm going back and forth. It's a lot easier than just using your index finger. So let's go shoot another coat of primer on this thing, and I'll probably go ahead and put a little bit more header paint on the flapper valve and the smoke and the exhaust stack, and we'll let that dry for a couple of hours. Then I'll come back and start shooting the seat here with some green, some John Deere green. So let's get to work. Now I get to wait a while again, but breakfast is about ready, so I'm gonna put this inside the barn and let it cure for a couple of hours. While I'm at it, we'll hit the exhaust stack with a little bit more header paint. This header paint is good for up to 2,000 degrees. I think we're good. Now I get to wait, and that's the hardest part. But breakfast is ready, so time to go eat. Well, it's time to put on some John Deere green. It's been a couple of hours. Shaking this up for about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to put on my handy dandy little handle here. Make it easier for me to do what I got to do. Now, something to remember, since this is going to be on top of the tractor and it's going to be out in the weather and the sun all the time, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this with 4 coats of this stuff at least, and get all that rust under control and make it look a little bit better. Keep it from rusting, because you know it's almost 70 years old. Maybe this will last a while. Can only hope. Let's get to work. Well, that's the first coat. A little light, a little heavier in other areas. Need to go and let this sit and cure for at least 15 minutes before I go and put another coat of this stuff on there. Hide and watch. Well, time for coat number 2. Okay, now I get to wait for a while and let it cure and come back for a 3rd coat. And I hope my neighbor's mowing doesn't throw dust all over my new paint. Now we're back for coat number 3. Gonna let that sit for about 15 minutes and hit it with a 4th coat. We'll be done with painting the seat. Now we're back for coat number 4. This will be the last coat, and we'll let it sit and dry for a couple of hours before I touch it to start installing the seat. Well, that's the last coat. Now we get to let it dry and cure. I'm gonna put it in the barn, let it sit for a few hours. That new exhaust stack looks really good. I shot it with 4 coats of header paint. It's supposed to handle about 2,000 degrees. We'll see how that works out. Come on back and we'll go and start putting a seat in this thing and start putting the tractor back together, because I want to move it and I want to make sure it runs. I'm excited. Well, it's been a couple of hours and it's dry. I can touch it and nothing's tacky anywhere on it. So I'm ready to go and install the new seat cushion. Now, the seat cushion I've got, the bottom of it is plywood, and it's got air breather holes so when you sit down on it, it doesn't poof out the upholstery. The air has some place to escape. Nice firm foam. Whoever it is that I bought this off of eBay, and I'll probably put a link down in the description, they did a really nice job. So let's try putting this thing together. Go. There we go. It's nice and tight in there. And I picked up some lath screws, some little stainless steel lath screws. These are for connecting wood and metal, which is exactly what we're doing here. There we go. Now we have a completed seat, and it's ready to go back on the tractor. I think this looks pretty good. I think it looks a lot better than what it used to. Here's what the old cushion used to look like. That's what the new cushion looks like. I like the new cushion a lot better. Well, now that we've gotten the seat taken care of, I want to take care of the exhaust stack. Now that this is all freshly painted and ready to go, I want to go and put the new flapper valve on it. This is a 3-inch diameter flapper valve that I picked up over at Tractor Supply. I have to open it up a little bit. Okay, I think it's on there good and tight now. And now we got a big old flapper valve. I think that'll work out real well. I'm excited. I can't wait to get these parts back on the tractor. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today and getting a little bit of work done here on the farm. Getting one more thing done, 2 more things done, 3 more things done for the MC crawler. Thanks for watching. Come back and see us.